Ayomide here, and you already know what time it is. We're back for another episode of the World Without People podcast. More voices, more real stories, and even deeper conversations that challenge the way we see the world. This season, we're peeling back even more layers, exploring life, love, purpose, and the beautiful complexities of the human experience. New guests, fresh perspectives, and of course, the same unfiltered, soul stirring energy you love. So, whether you've been rocking with us since day one or you're just joining the adventure, welcome. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's keep the conversation going one unforgettable story at a time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World Without People podcast. My name is Ayomide, and I'm so excited for you to be here. I'm always excited. Am I particularly excited because I'm the solo guest? I don't know. I'm very shy, and people don't believe me. I can always have a conversation, but I am definitely very shy about being the focus of this conversation. With that said, I do have behind the scenes Tochukwu, who is going to be feeding me the questions. I know you can't see him, but feeding me the questions so then I can respond. Before I forget, like, share, subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000. Thank you to everybody who's liked and subscribed so far. We finally hit over 100 on YouTube. I'm really excited, and I hope that we'll see more of that, and we get to 1,000 before August. Let's give ourselves a timeline. All right, with that said, Tochukwu, what's the first question for me today?
So, first question is today, would you rather always have a rewind button in life or a pause button?
Okay. I think definitely a pause button first and foremost, right? I feel like there's just sometimes you just want to be like, pause, let me get all the facts, which in some ways can also be debilitating because now you're overthinking. I think the overthinker in me, you're overthinking, you're overanalyzing, all of that kind of stuff. But I think, it's always good to be able to take a moment, and we're not very good at taking those moments. Waiting can be very difficult. And I think that's the thing. When we're waiting of our own volition versus waiting because of circumstances of life. So I think I would definitely say a pause button first, but I do think rewind is not a bad button, is all I'm saying. Like, I just think that there's some things that have happened in life that I feel like I did not have to learn the lesson, in that I can learn from other people's experiences, from other people's stories. If I had much more information, I would have made certain other choices and better choices, and I think therefore that I would rewind. Yeah. So I think it depends. Let me say it like that. But pause button first, if that makes sense. Next question.
Okay. Would you rather have the powers of Dr. Zulutu or Professor Charles Xavier from X-Men?
Ooh, Xavier. I don't think I care enough about animals to want to talk to animals. It's funny, once in a while you see an animal and you just think, what could they be thinking? Let me give you an example, birds. I just think birds like to show off. Like every so often, they'll just glide in the air and then come down and then flap their wings and then make some kind of extra noise, and you're just like, you are just showing off, like, stop it. And I definitely want to be able to say that to them, but I don't think I care enough in general. Like, I don't think I notice animals enough. Like, if it's a lizard, I want to kill you, or serpent of any kind, So I definitely, or reptile, I should say, of any kind. So I definitely don't think I care enough about animals. Now, Xavier's power, though, I don't think it's a power I want to have, if I'm being very honest. Like, as much as it's obviously, like, reading minds will be great, right? It's a lot. Like, I'm still trying to figure out my own mind, much less everybody else's mind. Is it helpful in certain situations where you feel like, if I understood that person better? But I think, honestly, if we're being very honest, communication, relationship helps us to really understand people better. You may not understand them 110%, but you can understand them some. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Would you rather never use social media again or never watch TV or movies again?
Never watch TV or movies again. now I feel like I'm watching TV a lot more than I ever did in my life. But I was first and foremost always a reader. I would not even have a TV for the longest time. I'm still a reader. It's more time that makes me not read, and so then I gravitate to TV or movie. But yes, I'll definitely. I've always advocated for social media. I know it's weird, but I started with Facebook. I kind of grew a community there. Then when you felt like, oh, you didn't want everybody to see you, then you went to Twitter because Twitter allowed you to be anonymous a little bit. Then grew a community there. I've always said it that I have so many friends from Twitter who've become part of my life. I mean, I had an ex from Twitter, and that was before people did all these, apps for relationships and stuff like that. And with Instagram, I always tell people my Instagram is very curated. I don't know what people see on Instagram. I don't like. It's funny. People will send me stuff, and I'm like, wait, is this same Instagram? Like, I don't know where you people are seeing all of that stuff. My Instagram is very clean. I don't know. The algorithm has helped me out in some way or the other, and I mostly see my friends who are doing well, and I know that people can be curating things. I think I'm a little bit grateful that I don't feel like I have a lot of friends who are just curating their lives for social media effect. I don't think I have that. I think I have a lot of people who are mostly very, they want to give back, they want to be impactful, they want to share what they know, or they're just sharing their everyday life. And I think for me, I like that. And even the places that I now go to for news, I follow a lot of sports things on Instagram, so that's my thing. If it's not sports, then it's Christian things, right? So I'm learning literally something about God. Like even on a day when I feel like I've not prayed, and I go on, not because, whatever, I'm just not feeling like I have the words to say. And then I go on Instagram and there's a prayer, this thing, and I'm just able to say amen, right? I think for me, it's like, okay, God, thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me when I've not reached out to you. And that's what Instagram, for me, that's the only social media I use, by the way. So I don't do TikTok or anything else. I thank God to my team who do all of that for me on all the other social media platforms. But I think for me, social media has been great. It's been great to be able to connect with people. And it's been a good resource. The other day, let me give you an example. Sorry. I know I'm probably answering the question for like forever, but whatever. The other day we went to the market, like actual physical market. We wanted to get something for my mom. And I'd taken a friend with me who I knew would know the market better. And she was able to go on Instagram and see, okay, how much are they selling this, like an individual person who's selling this stuff, right? How much is she or her or he selling it? And then compare to what we're getting at the market, because at the market, you're supposed to be, quote unquote, getting wholesale prices. So she was able to negotiate with that information, saving us literally thousands of naira. And that's what a good tool it can be. And I just think if we use it right, social media is not bad at all.
Okay, interesting. So, would you rather be rich and unknown or poor and famous? I feel like this one should be easy for you.
It is easy for me, but in that I don't want to be famous. Okay, no. Let me say it like this. Fame, I've always struggled with the idea of fame. I think I've said it before, maybe not on this podcast, but if you've ever had conversations with me, I don't like the idea of pride. Like, yes, fine, the Bible tells you, don't like pride, so it seems very simple enough. But I think that I've seen the effect of pride in people, and I think it's a very, very, very dangerous place to be. So I do not want to be associated with pride in any way, shape, or form. And I don't know how you can be famous and not be proud. Like, I mean, it's hard to say. Of course, I've seen people who are doing it and everything, but I do feel like it enters, right, in one way or the other. That's why Nigerians do this whole "do you know who I am" kind of thing. It just creeps in. You don't even know, right? You almost have to be doing a lot of work to not be proud if you're famous. And so I think that being able to kind of stay under the radar helps one be be less, be humble. Let me say it like that. Yes, your personality, yes, your whatever. But it's very, very helpful if you're not in the company of a lot of praise, and that you can't be famous and not be in the company of a lot of praise. So I think for me, that's the issue with fame in that sense. Do I want to be poor? No. I'm sorry. I don't think anybody wants to be poor, let's be honest, right? And I think for me, it's not just about, I don't personally want to be poor because I want all these things. I don't want other people to be poor. I hate it. It really just, I know that life, I cannot fix all of life in that sense, and not somebody has to, quote unquote, clean my house, right? But I don't want them to be poor to do that, right? I think that, like my dad was saying the last episode, there are cleaners in America that have better cars than I do, right? There are people, again, from their cleaning company, right, with their staff, right, that are making much more money than I do. So, and then even the individual cleaners, right, if they clean enough houses 4 or 5 times, you're making money, right? The tax bracket is a lot different, whatever the case is. I don't want anybody to be poor. So for me, I want people to be industrious. I want people to be making enough to feed themselves, take care of themselves and their families. So yeah, it's a very complicated or mix of questions. I think that the mix was very, very interesting there. I don't want to be poor. Fame is good, but I don't necessarily want to be famous. So I guess I have to go with rich and what? Rich and what?
It's rich and unknown.
Yeah, I'll go with rich and unknown any day, anytime. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you rather travel 100 years into the past or 100 years into the future?
Future. 100%. 100%. I have so many questions.
Yeah.
What's AI going to be like in a little bit? What are my children going to be like at the point when I'm not there? What's the world going to be like? This whole climate change, what's happening? What's it going to look like? And then is there going to be the second heaven and second earth and all of that? Or would we already be living in second heaven or second earth? When is that time going to be? Yeah, no, I'm very ready to see a future. I think the past is the past. We, thank God for documentation. We've seen it in the movies, so I don't think I'm that curious about the past. Hey everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, or share button. Whether you're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or YouTube, your support helps us to reach more people. Stay tuned for more amazing conversations, and thank you for being a part of our community.
Okay, so as a Nigerian in the entertainment scene, would you rather have a successful music career or a successful Nollywood acting career? Music personally, because I'm really into music. I would say I'm really into music. I feel like I've lost my edge, but I mean for the longest time I was. At the current pace, I don't believe Nigerian movie scene is anything or maybe getting to what we need to get to anytime soon. I'm hoping to be I'm hoping to be proven wrong about that. But I definitely think that the music scene has gotten to where it needs to get to, and is on pace to continue to be bigger and better. So yeah, definitely music. If I was in another country though, I'd have flipped it. You'd have flipped it?
Yeah, definitely. In the UK, the US, maybe even India, I would have flipped it. Yeah.
Okay. So, would you rather have a Nigerian themed podcast or a Nigerian themed YouTube channel?
I mean, is there a difference nowadays? I feel like the podcast and the YouTube, which is part of what we're doing here, is kind of connected. I don't know. YouTube was a very hard sell for me because, again, I didn't necessarily, I guess my immediate question to the rich and unknown should have been unknown because I really didn't even want to come on YouTube and everything. So it's a very interesting, what's it called? Am I Nigerian themed as a podcast? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know that needed to be. I don't know that a podcast needs to be
specific to any culture. So maybe YouTube, right? Because that may be focused on things like cooking or, fashion, like things that need to be visible. So yeah. I think in that way I would promote Nigeria better with a YouTube channel.
Okay. And seeing as you like books a lot, I was going to ask you this. Would you rather meet your favorite Nigerian author or your favorite Nigerian musician?
I don't have a favorite Nigerian musician.
You don't.
I don't have a favorite Nigerian musician. Do I have a favorite Nigerian author though? That's a good point. I don't, but there are some people who have read their books that I think I would love to meet. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer that anyone would love to meet Wale Soyinka, right? Like, I haven't even read a ton of his books, but I would love to meet him. Chimamanda, I feel like she's done enough, interviews and stuff that I don't know that I would really want to meet her. So let me see. But I have maybe because I have a few friends, maybe not a lot, but a few friends who have written books enough, and I know them. So I definitely think authors for sure because I want to see their minds. But I don't know that I have a lot of Nigerian authors, and I need to work on that. That's for sure.
Okay, so let's get to another one. So, if you could instantly learn one language, which would it be, and why?
It's a very tricky question because I want more than one. I would, if I could, I would have loved to be one of those people who could learn 7 languages or had 7 languages. I definitely think Igbo. I just think I cannot be. It's a shame, honestly, that Nigeria does not make it mandatory for us as Nigerians to learn the 3 basic languages. So Igbo and Hausa. I think it's really, really sad that I can't speak to 50, 60%, 70%, whatever the math is, of the rest of my neighbors in a country like this. And I think that's really, really crazy. And the expectation that English is our main language and it's just supposed to be English is really not fair when we're as diverse as we are, right? And as far as apart as we are. I mean, it's not like we have good roads that can get me from here to Kano in like 1 hour, let me say, or 2 hours or whatever. So I have to freaking take a flight to go there, but then there's no language that unifies us. Again, I think obviously the assumption is that it's English. But if I lived in Lagos and I knew Hausa, whether I go there or not, whether I come here, whether we meet in another country, I will be able to speak that language and we'll be able to connect as Nigerians. Because I think, yes, English is a global language, but if it was even pidgin, like something, like I just feel like there needed to be a much more unifying language. If you go to France or any other country, if you don't speak their language, they're going to be looking at you, like some people may, but they don't care, right? That, you don't speak their language, that's up to you. So I don't know. I just think that I understand that English is our I guess official language, but I really do think it's a shame that we don't speak Igbo or Hausa, and then especially in Lagos, expect every Igbo or Hausa person to speak Yoruba. It's kind of crazy.
So let's go again. What's the most spontaneous thing you've ever done?
That's tricky. But I think the most spontaneous thing I've ever done is really just get on a plane. I can get on a plane like tomorrow. Like I don't really care. Let me say it like this. For a good reason usually. It's usually for someone else. Like, I need to celebrate someone else or somebody really, really needs me for something. I'm the kind of, I'll get in my car or get on a plane and be there for someone. So that's probably the most spontaneous thing that I've ever done. I don't know that I'm a very spontaneous person. I'm very practical. I'm a first child, so spontaneity is not really my my cup of tea. But yes, I will be spontaneous for family and or friends. Yeah.
Okay. So this one says, if you were, I don't know if you know much about video games, but if you were a character in a video game, what would be your superpower or your special ability?
If I was a character in a video game. So yeah, no, I don't know much about video games.
game I played was like Nintendo and Super. No, it's not. What was Aduke? Mortal Kombat. That was the last video game I ever played. Oh no. Actually, no. I did a little bit of Wii, but Wii is not really a video. Is Wii a video game? Will you call that a video game? Okay. I'm talking about Nintendo Wii that you would play tennis and stuff.
Yeah, video game.
I'm trying to think of some of the characters that I've seen in actual movie, like they've now made a movie out of it. I don't know. I don't know actually. I couldn't think. Flying for sure. So let me say it like this. Whatever the case is, I want to solve problems. So if I'm thinking about it from maybe more of a Marvel character kind of thing, I want to be able to solve problems. So, and I think that solving problems without necessarily having, so maybe a Superman. Like if I think about it from more of a, yeah, like that kind of Marvel, like being able to help, yeah, like a Superman, because we have a situation where he can think, but he has the bronze as well. I mean, I know he can be stopped, but at least he's not just, like his mind is open, right? Yeah, those kind of things. Or maybe Doctor Strange. I don't know. That's a very tricky one.
I do like Doctor Strange.
Yeah, maybe Doctor Strange, yeah.
So it says here, would you rather live in Nigeria with 24 hours electricity but terrible internet, or blazing fast internet but constant power outages? I think we're already living in one.
Neither of those are good. I'm sorry. Like, I am absolutely, we just finally got Starlink. We still need to set that up because I couldn't, right? Like, internet is a vital part of my existence. And I say that because I moved when I was 18. So again, I don't know a world where, like, yes, it was, for the longest time, obviously, who cared about internet? I didn't have a phone. I didn't have it. I don't know. We didn't know anything different. Now that I know different, I'm sorry. And I have a lot of work I want to do that requires internet. So I don't know. My body temperature works great in Nigerian weather, interestingly enough, and I'm the kind of person who doesn't really like AC. So interestingly enough, I may not die with the power outages. Do I like that? No. Do I think it's fair? Do I think we should still be living in that world in 2025? Absolutely not. But I do think internet is better. Yeah.
If you could swap lives with someone for a day, who would it be and why?
Any man. Okay, maybe not any man, but men. I'm sorry, like as a woman, we just deal with so much. Like, you don't know if it's ovulation, if it's period, if it's just your body acting up. Like, I'm sorry, I know you're a man, you're not understanding what I'm saying. But I'm just telling you, like, as a woman, like, something is happening now to the entire left side of my of my mouth. Like, entire left side that just popped up. And I'm thinking to myself, you're eating properly, you're drinking water, you're eating your fruits and your veggies. This has to be something related to being a woman. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I brush my teeth, like, seriously, my siblings are always telling me I brush my teeth too much. So, that kind of thing. Like, I know it's not a hygienic thing. So I know it's something related to being a woman that then a doctor is just going to tell you, oh, it's so normal. And you're like, this is not normal. So anyways, I say all of that to say that I think that I would want to be a man for a day. With that said, is there a specific man that I would want to? I've always said that the only person I ever feel like I ever want to meet in this world, as of right now, like in general, is Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is the coach for the Golden State Warriors. Now, I should say this. My second person now is also Michael Arteta. And I think the reason being that I really like this idea, Michael Arteta is Arsenal coach for those who do not know. The reason being these two people, if I had a choice to meet these people, I think the fact that they were players and then they become coaches and they're coaching in a different era
with people that are much more, have much more money, or at least, came into the game with so much more money, and then having to deal with all of that ego, right, that comes into that system. And both of them have been relatively successful in not having scandals in their team. There's been no drama within their team. Even when certain drama has come in, they've been able to handle it. And in Steve Kerr's case in particular, had an injury or some kind of health scare that took him away right in the middle of playoffs, and being able to deal with all of that. I think for me, I'm curious how he's been able to lead. And I think that's really what the point is. I'm curious about people who have been able to lead people that are, and so maybe any coach really, like some of the best people in the world as far as talent-wise, and then able to deal with that leadership from a perspective of dealing with the person, the personality, families and all of that. I'm really curious about leadership that deals with people that you would automatically think of with ego and those kind of things. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. If you could have dinner with any three people, dead or alive, who would they be?
I think I already said two. Yeah. I think I already said two. Who would the third person be? Sounds bad because I feel like I should have some women in this thing, but I think maybe Barack then, just to round that up. I think maybe Barack Obama. But I want to think about it from female perspective. Who do I want to speak to? If I was going to say maybe three women, I want to speak to. Three women I want to speak to. Ideally, and maybe at some point she'll be able to come, I really want to speak to my mom, but like where she's able to say everything on board. And my mom is not that kind of person. My mom is a keep your secrets, don't tell anybody, don't even tell family kind of person. So I would really love if my mom could have one of those no bars, what they call it, no whatever. Like nothing is off the table, like everything. Like let's be able to talk about sex, let's be able to talk about the divorce, let's be able to talk about the boyfriends before the all of that. Like so that would be one person as far as a female goes. Yeah, I think again, when I think about it, I do think, who I would love to talk to? Clinton's wife.
Hillary.
Yes, Hillary. I would love to talk to her. And I think the reason being, again, that whole position, leadership, her also being a leader in her own right, and then having to deal with the scandal that she dealt with. I think I would be curious to speak to her and a lot of similar women in that position. Like I'll be curious to speak to Bezos' wife, Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever his name is, wife or ex-wife in this case, right? Jeff Bezos' ex-wife in this case. I'm thinking of somebody else and it's not coming up in my head right now. Melinda Gates, right? A lot of those kind of women that kind of have that conversation around. Again, dealing with leadership, dealing with the changes and all of that. But again, because a lot of them talk, but I mean like that kind of conversation where you can't lie, you have to say it as it is, like honestly, and things like that. And then someone who's dead, Princess Diana. Yeah, I would love to just hear all the deeds, everything she went through, the choices she made, It would have been interesting to even, that moments right before she gets into that accident or as she's going through that accident, like what her thought was around her sons and damn, these people won, that kind of thing. But anyways, yeah.
If you were invited for a meeting at Asura with the president just to discuss general matters concerning the economy of the country, how do you feel like that conversation would go?
What president? As in our current president?
Yeah.
Wow. So, as you can tell, I'm a very passionate person. I'm almost like my father in that sense. I'm very, very passionate about what I believe in. So I do think that that conversation might be contentious. With that said, what will I talk about the general economic state of the country? I think I might deal with it like less from a jobs and financial perspective, but from the root causes of things, right? Like my dad was saying, one, education, right? What are we going to do about that? Where are we going to start giving free education? Let's, like I said, an example of changing the education requirements. I don't know if there's a national body that looks at the curriculum. I mean, and maybe I just don't know, but is it being enforced? Is it being checked? In America, you have what we call a curriculum coordinator. When last did that curriculum change, yearly and all of that? Thinking through JAM, WAEC, NECO, what are those policies that guide those, and how do they continue to improve on those, so that again, anywhere else in the world as well, we are also competitive in our education system. So that's one. Near and dear to my heart is healthcare. Our healthcare system is the worst that I can think of in the entire world, and I'm sure I'm not exaggerating, right? And I think you cannot put 10% of the budget to our healthcare. We don't care about lives in Nigeria, and it starts from the basic things. So, for example, one of the things that we can do a lot more, I personally think, is job creation, right? In those places that we are lacking, we need people to clean the roads, right? Yes, LASMA is a good body, but LASMA doesn't have to be the only body, right? And so is there another body that we can create? Because I think that's the difference between, what do they call it? Like a country like capitalism, where there's competing bodies of organizations that can then do the work. So why not employ all the people on the road to help us with clearing the road, so that we can reduce pollution? Because again, now you're tying the health effect to job creation. And I think that's another thing that we don't do in Nigeria very well. We do not tie the need for something. So, for example, we had an estate meeting today, and I actually went because of because of the conversation my dad had the last episode, right? And I went, and one of the things I told them was, we have two gates. The first gate is supposed to be our resident gate, and then you have to pass through bad roads really to get to the second gate, that is the visitor gate, right? Now, for me, it's stupid, right? I don't want my visitor's car to get spoiled any more than my car needs to get spoiled. You're not really changing the access. But I understand the whole need of, before you vet a visitor, maybe it takes time, and then the resident is really trying to enter their house really quick. Okay, no problem. But in a situation where, for example, you have a medical emergency because, they close the gate at 7:30, the resident gate, that is, at 7:30 p.m., so, I mean, I guess this is the assumption that everybody has gotten back from work. But say you have a medical emergency, a health emergency, you cannot go through the resident gate to get out. An ambulance cannot come in from the resident gate to get in. They have to pass through a longer journey through bad roads to get to you if you have a medical emergency. That's the point of not thinking about your rules with healthcare or lives, the impact on lives. And I think that's something we do not do very, very well. So that's my number 2. Number 3, we have a great advantage in tourism that we're not taking advantage of. Every year now, by October, September, we're going to start shouting, Desi December, everybody's going to be preparing for that and all of that. But as a nation, we're not preparing for that. The government is not preparing for that. We're not taking advantage of whatever financial ways we can even levy to take those resources to help the nation, to help the country. Our roads are still bad, and we keep encouraging people to come, right? Which is causing more accidents, which is just leaving us in a worse state. Hotels, what is our around making sure that the hotels are ready? There's public restrooms for people. There's rest areas for people as they come in to take advantage of all these, to take advantage of the tourism that they want to do. So we're not taking advantage of it, anyways, that's number 3. And then number 4 will be production. We are not producing anything. AI is great. people can do a lot of IT work and work remotely. So we're still taking our resources outside of the country because a lot of people are just doing that. They'll sit down in their house and they'll just work outside of the country as opposed to doing work within the country that benefits us. And that's partly because we're not producing anything. So I saw the other day that there was one store that was called Like Here because why can we not have a name that is different? I understand that you're trying to let everybody know that your company is like I care, but can we please, can we Nigerians, can we please not take the literal name of another company and just twist it to make it ours? Anyways, Like Here, I don't have a problem with it. I've never been. Maybe it's great, maybe it's not. But whatever the case is, this is a company that is pretty much doing the same thing as IKEA, except you're importing things, you're bringing things from, and okay, let me take that back. I don't know what IKEA is doing. This is all just from social media. But let me just say it in general, right? You go to Ebano or any of these other places or whatever, they're importing things from China or from wherever and charging us at astronomical prices. I can't buy paper towel here from another country because it's ridiculous. I'll ship my things and I'll pay for shipping, right? Because it's that astronomical. We are very good at replicating things. Why are we not replicating things within the country in production, in every shape or form? So I think there are a number of things that I want to talk to the president about. I honestly, maybe that's who I should have said. If I had the opportunity to speak to anybody dead or alive, maybe I should have said President Tinubu. I don't even want to go that far. Let me just start with the governor. There are just so many things that we can do that need to be done that, we can't keep saying, because a lot of people will tell you when I start having these conversations, oh, we've done it before, oh, you don't know Nigerians, oh, this, or that, or that, or that. Great, I understand that. But we're not going to not do anything because there's obstacles. And if we don't try, I think we're really doing ourselves a disservice. Another simple thing I think about is just even orderliness on the road. Like, there is no reason. Every year they tell you that they want to do roads. They put cameras for, speed and all of that. But you can't do lanes. You want to enforce on speed. You can also enforce on lane changes. The reason we're not putting lane changes, or lane, whatever you want to call them, is because we also understand that there's no national body that makes us have a driving rules and regulations that everybody knows. I just entered the car at some point. I said I was going to learn how to drive, and that was not about that, right? You have to go to a school, you have to pass a driving exam. I remember having to learn how to parallel park in America and take that exam, and I failed that exam, and then I had to come back when I'd gotten that and then pass the exam to be able to give me a driving license, right? We don't do that. And yes, there's driving school. I know we now have some driving schools. But I'm talking about a national body that ensures, because guess what? I didn't end up finishing here. I went abroad, I got my driver's license. I can come to Nigeria and I can drive better. But that 18-year-old who's getting his driving license for the first time, that 18-year-old girl who's getting her driver's license for the first time, has no other experience other than what she's seen on the streets of wherever, right? Let me just assume Lagos, right? And we don't have a body that allows her know the rules, the regulations, what's the sign. There's signs for, stopping a car, let's assume for whatever reason your trafficator is not working and you need to use hand signs. There's hand signs different from the signs that your car can, and we don't have laws and rules and things that teach us that universally. So we're all on the same page. That's a great disservice. It's such a simple thing, but it's such a great disservice. And I just feel like, we need to, we have a lot to discuss. We have a lot we can do, and they're not even as big as we think. And they're not things that will not cost us money. And I keep telling the people, let me not say I have no problem, but it would have been one thing if people get into places of power and they stole money, but they did the job, or they did some of the job. or they did some part of the job. But I don't understand how somebody is going to buy a new jet or new car or fix the governor's house, right, as a priority in their first and or second term, knowing that they're not going to live there forever. I'm not saying don't fix the house, right? But it's not, like, it's the, do it, right? You do it okay, but not at the amount of money that we keep hearing that people are spending into fixing a governor's house, that they're not going to be there forever. Except the idea is that you're going to come then take the governor's house after you've left the position. So it doesn't make sense to me how you can't still fix the governor's house and still help us fix the roads. There's no reason why we have 3 churches on the same street. There's something called zoning, right? That's the church versus the school versus the petrol station versus the hospital. What is the radius of a hospital, right? Like, how many miles can you get to the next hospital from your house? How many miles can you get to the next police station from your house, right? How many miles can you get to the next supermarket from your house, right? Those are zonal laws that, anyway, I'm sorry. I can talk about this all day long. I'm very, 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 that's one thing I would say my father gave to almost each and every one of us. I have one sister who may not really care for Nigeria anymore, but most every one of us, yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and I would, dear President or Governor, if you or your people see this, I would love to talk to you. I would love to help. I would love to contribute my time, pro bono. Seriously, pro bono, to put some of these things in effect, and then let's see, right? If we tried and it doesn't work, then that's fine. At least we tried. But I think we are not trying. So yeah.
Would you actually like to have the president on your podcast?
Again, I'm very passionate about people being on the podcast only if they can be honest, right? And I know that it's not everybody that is going to be honest. Like, you see me and my dad fighting. I'm not to say he wasn't honest, but you can see that we obviously, what's the word? We don't agree on the same things. Like, I'm like, your recollection is different from my recollection, sir. I love you, but you know. But in general, obviously, when he's talking about politics or whatever, like, that's his, his opinion and everything. So I think for me, that's my only thing. Like, the purpose of this podcast is really not just for me to come and be talking. Like, it's good for me to do this or that. But as you can see, when I was trying to answer the question, I was trying to, give you the context and the understanding of it. I think that I want everybody to leave this podcast feeling like they've heard truth. They've heard things that, fill them up, encourage them, and things like that. So I think for me, the person that wants to come and he's going to be honest and he's going to, I want him to show me his financials. Like the US government has to show me the president's financials. Like, if you're able to do that, then let's talk.
All right. So, I was going to ask your idea or your opinion on visa tightening by the US and the UAE.
Yeah, that's a very tricky one. I think that obviously my understanding, especially of the US one, that one is probably a lot more personal for me, is the idea of, we were doing the same reciprocity. And this is what I keep saying about, this is part of what I was saying in the earlier question. Because again, one thought that comes to my mind is, when last have we looked at our constitution? When last have we looked at our laws? Who are the people in position who are looking at all of these things and seeing, again, the effect of this thing against family and against individuals and against homes? So think about it. We have people who are married to other nationalities, who their spouse cannot come for 3 months. That is ridiculous. So in this case, if I did not have a Nigerian passport, I could not have been in this country for more than 3 months as a US citizen. That is ridiculous. So I'm not sure that we can even blame the US on this. This is the consequence of our own ineffective laws that affect family, because part of what America is fighting about now, and Trump is talking about with the whole birthright citizenship and stuff like that, is because people want their families to be reunified. We don't want husband and wife, much less larger families to be reunified. It's already a problem because we're not thinking about the individual, we're not thinking about the family. So we bit ourselves in the ass on that one. I mean, there's not much else to say about that, honestly, let's be honest. I'm hoping that it can be changed. And because again, I don't think it's just about, Nigerians overspending. I mean, in America, everybody's overspending, let's be honest. So there's that about that. For the UAE, it's always been a very complicated thing for me because apparently, and I did not know this because I did have any issue when I was going in, but apparently there's a lot of issues about, even as a female going in on your own to the country. Now they're saying you have to be between 18 to 45, you have to go with someone, and then over 45, you have to show a lot of money. I don't know. The UAE has always been a very interesting situation for me. Let's be honest, we don't have to go to their country. Let's just be honest, right? I think if our country was great, then maybe people wouldn't have to go. But let's even say you just want to go for travel. Let's say you're one of those people who wants to visit all of the countries in the world. You want to go for a short time and you want to come back. But they've always had rather interesting requirements. And I don't know, let me not say always. In my short time frame of traveling, right? I think I was there when I turned 30. It was about 9 years ago. What's that? 2025 minus 9. I don't know. I don't really do good in math. 2016, 2017, something like that, right? Yeah. So it's gone. It's been so different in that amount of time that I think that theirs is a lot more interesting. I just think we don't have to go to the country, go and visit and come back. So that one is a little tricky. I just think that at the end of the day, it boils down to our leaders. But I'm wary of always blaming leaders when it's not our leaders going to those countries and doing the things that they are complaining about. It has nothing to do with your leadership. It has nothing to do with your leadership. I'm going to reference again the podcast with my dad. My dad told you, and he said he does not know how I had the audacity of hope in spite of everything that was going on. That means that from a child, I had my own personality. One thing he didn't tell you, or one thing I forgot to ask him on the podcast was, I remember as a child, like I mentioned, I don't really like AC. I've always not liked the cold, right? So this was not, I moved to Michigan, which is already very cold, and then hated the cold. No, as a child, I would leave the room that was extremely cold because himself and my brother, they love, it has to be 0 degrees, whatever that is, right? And I couldn't do it. So I would come out of the room and come and sleep in the living room, and he'll come and find me because, I don't know, parents, I guess, come and check on their children in the night. And then he would come and find me and then beat me because he's like, I sprayed the room so that there's no mosquitoes, so you don't get malaria. And then you want to come and sleep in the place that has mosquitoes and get malaria. And I'm like, it's cold. I'm sorry. From a child, my body did not agree to that. So I say that to say that, again, as a parent, I'm sorry, I just think, could we have revisited that conversation around this place is too cold, can we reduce it? Can you figure out, get me a heater, right? That was a personal heater or something, a space heater that would have worked for me. But when we just say, this is the law, what he was saying was right? The chances of mosquitoes dealing with you in a place where he'd sprayed the room, right? It's cold, that means he's probably putting on the generator. If there was not that much light, right, at the time. He's putting on the generator. He's putting in all of that effort, right, for me, right? He's making sense, it makes sense. But equity is such that the thing that works for 5 people may not work for the one person. But how can we make it a leveling ground? And I think that's the problem, right? Let's bring it back to Nigeria now. So we do all of these things. Let's even imagine that there's a legitimate reason why the Nigerian government thinks that a citizen of another country should only have 3 months of visa stay. I'm saying that makes sense in maybe the general visitation cases. What does that do for families? What does that do for spouses? What does that do for, your parents want to move or things like that. If we're not looking at these laws, if we're not thinking about all of the scenarios, and maybe we can sometimes get it wrong, but if we don't look at it at all, we do ourselves a disservice. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm just basically saying that we really need to look at what benefits us as a country. Again, we need to go back to those laws. We need to look at when was that law last looked at? Who is looking at them? Do we have the right people on the table? So when in America, if you needed to do some kind of community thing, they would always say, bring somebody who has lived experience of that situation. So what that means is, let's say you wanted to do some kind of community thing on disabilities. Bring somebody who has lived with disabilities, is living with disabilities, whose parents or whatever is living with disabilities, because they can give you some kind of perspective that you will never know. So I go around in Nigeria and there's no place with accessible wheelchair. Many places. Many of your best places in Nigeria, if you're in a wheelchair, you cannot get there. If somebody does not carry you up, you cannot get there. They don't have to carry you up. I'm not even talking about up the stairs. I'm just talking about inside. Like, just to get into the house, you can't do that in a wheelchair, right? And that's because nobody else has looked at the laws again. Because nobody who's typically affected by this situation are involved in the conversations that need or that require changes or that could cause changes. So anyways, UAE US visa restrictions, it's unfortunate, but it's as a result of our leadership, and it's as a result of the fact that we ourselves do the wrong things, even outside of our leadership, I guess is my point. Because again, we won't blame the leaders on everything, and I don't think that's fair when we can't individually make the right choices even when we travel.
Okay, fair enough. It's been a bit of a conversation on X, actually, on socials. It's about Buhari's passing, and everyone has mixed opinions about it. So I would just like to know what your opinion is.
First of all, it's always Twitter. It would never be X. I'm offended. twwp is Gen Z, by the way, so that's why. I'm offended at the fact that he wants to be changed to X. It's always going to be Twitter. So I think my dad mentioned it. Oh God, this reference to my dad is so funny, but I think it's just because it was the last episode. That Buhari was his, I don't know what he said, school principal or his prefect or something like that. His friend. So I called him and I said, "Oh, sorry about your loss." So that was about it as far as what my thought was. And of course, then you see it on social media and everybody's talking about it. And I think I understand both sides. Let me say it like that. I understand the side that says, you know what, this guy, maybe not under his military regime, because I don't seem to hear. I think people had somewhat of a favorable, at least from the little that I know. Or maybe because the people that are then talking about it now went there in his military regime time, so there's that. But it seems like that time was okay. He was part of whatever was happening in the country. It kind of went. There were no significant laws or things he did that affected us now much later. I don't think it was the one that changed it to 8 years. That kind of thing. I'm just saying that. There doesn't seem to be that time. So maybe that's why some of the older people don't seem to have a problem with that part of his, what's it called? I don't think, again, he was not close to anywhere presidency as of the time that I was born. So using me as a reference for almost 40 years. But then obviously we went through the times that we went through, and the part of me who wasn't here can't really understand, right? No. You can understand. Can't really, maybe just not say too much, right? I didn't experience it. I have to be honest. I wasn't here. I didn't experience it. Were there things that maybe as a result of that time, And again, I think I was a little older at this point, so I wasn't needing mommy or daddy to feed me and all of that stuff, right? Were there other times when maybe that, maybe my parents had to pay school fees for my siblings, and because of some of the things that were happening, then maybe that affected me a little bit? Yes. So, but again, not the day-to-day of being in this country where people will tell you, something was 100 naira, and then by the time he left, it was 700 naira or 1,000 naira or something like that. No, I didn't experience that. So I understand the people who don't care regardless of his passing, right? I think the more of the conversation is around, does it matter that we're having this conversation now that he's dead, right? We didn't march the streets when he was president, right? Or let me say it like this, we didn't march online vocally to say, you are causing this, you are causing that, you are causing this. Like, that kind of like, we hate you that we're saying after he's dead. He's dead. And that's just the truth of the matter. Like, in life, right? Yes, leave an impact, leave a legacy so that, your children and your family will benefit from that legacy. But he himself as an individual is dead. Maybe it helps that we know that, okay, we will never put another Buhari in presidency. Maybe that's what this conversation helps us to do. I also think we're forgetful. I also think that the people who are going to be dealing with that conversation maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, right? So me, the 40-year-old, not yet, plus 50, right? At 90, am I really caring, right, about this situation? I don't know. So I think that for me is the conversation. He as an individual is dead. The lesson here is not for him. I think the lesson here is for maybe Tinubu, maybe all the other governors and all of that, people in position, but for we ourselves, right? Like, what's our legacy? What's our plan? What do we actually plan to do with our lives, right? The example I'll give is I heard of somebody who, lost their wife 2 years later, like literally 2 years later, they're married again, right? The person has moved on, life moves on, right? So it's less about Buhari. I think it's more just what we are going to do with all of these things that we're seeing or we've seen because the funny thing is, is this still Tinubu's first term? I think this is still Tinubu's first term. But we've been far, do you understand? Like, he'd already been out of the presidency, right? Think about, again, just even think about it from other nations, right? Biden has nothing to do with Trump's era. It's gone. Yes, maybe there are laws that he did and things he put in place that caused this or that or that or that or that, right? But that's why we also have a constitution. That's why we're supposed to have, justice and all of that, right? They're the judicial and all of that anyways. They're the ones who are supposed to, who kind of stay on, right? They have their terms, of course, but they stay on. It's those things, those constitutions, those laws that are supposed to be enforced and approved and all of that by them, right? So, I don't know. Buhari is gone. I think for me, let's think about what we are doing, right? What we plan to do with our lives, the impact and the legacy that we have. I think about the fact that if you are in that position, let's assume that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you get to that position. What do you want to do? How do you want to leave it? And like I said, if the conversation is about let Buhari's family not come into what's it called, power again, I guess the question is, are we going to remember what we experienced through him and things like that? So I don't know. I think that's how I think about it, regardless of who, because whether he died in power or he died outside of power, the point still remains. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Speaking about it, the question was actually all about his legacy and everything, what he did, and if he was actually a good president.
No.
Because right now we actually have Tinubu trying to I think he already renamed University of Maiduguri after President Buhari. So yeah.
But that has nothing to do with him being a good president. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, that is Tinubu's privilege to do.
Sure.
It's not necessarily because, I mean, I'm sure there are many things that are something abacha, right? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, that is his privilege to do. It was not because he feels like he has legacy. It was because Tinubu and Trump I said Tinubu and Trump. Tinubu and Buhari had a relationship, and he's whatever, he's just trying to show. I don't know. I'm thinking Saul and David, right? Saul did not end well, yet David took care of Saul's child, right? Saul tried to kill David, and yet David took care of his child. It has nothing to do with his legacy per se, right? At the end of the day, David was the one they were singing about. So I don't think it's about legacy. I think that the question is again, I mean that whole he's naming something after him. I don't think that has anything to do with anything. I think the question about legacy, about his let me not even say legacy. The question about his presidential term, we can all agree that it was not a good time. I wasn't here, and I can tell you that for free. I had arguments with my dad repeatedly about the situation. It was not funny for anybody involved, right? It was hard times for everybody involved. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. And let's be honest, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. We faced, I think, a lot of my dad faced a lot of hard times, financial hard times, even during that period, right? Much less somebody that was, the president, right? So that's neither here nor there. I think that we agree on his presidency being hard. His legacy at the end of the day is also not just about presidency, right? At the end of the day, I'm sure he's somebody's father, he's somebody's husband, he's somebody's son, he's somebody's, friend, he's somebody's grandchild. So legacy, to think that your career is the only legacy that you have, I don't know. Let's look at, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. He was the one who, I guess, created Apple, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs' legacy is horrible as far as family life, right? But when it comes to Apple, it's his legacy, right? Epstein, right? What's his legacy? Whitney Houston. Her music speaks great volume. What's her legacy? I mean, because if the only thing we ever remember about her is that she died from, drugs, I mean, I think that's just a very unfair way to do it, because her music is timeless. Michael Jackson, let's not go far. Elon Musk, he's still alive, right? This is somebody who has I don't even know what to say, like everything that is happening every day, all the conversations that are happening, the 10 children that he has. Yeah. His legacy is complicated, is what I'm saying. So I don't know. Legacy is not much of a thing to me. At the end of the day, I'm going to die. I'm not going to know what the legacy is. Can I have made impact? And so, again, I'm reminded of a friend of mine, of somebody. Let me not say somebody I know who passed. Young girl, right? And sometimes you just think, why does God let young people die? But when you think about the things that they said about that girl, right? Even to the point where I feel like her death went viral, right? And the words that were said and all of that and the impact and all of that, great, right? She's dead, right? Regardless, she's away. Now, we who are alive, what part of all the things that we've said about her and all of the impacts that she gave are we taking on? So another good example is that woman who, the doctor, and I'm forgetting her name, who was part of the people that had helped with the whole Ebola situation and made sure that Ebola did not become a pandemic in Nigeria. What is her legacy? What is her impact, really? Because legacy is fickle. Somebody might not remember that. It's the impact, it's the public health awareness, public health surveillance, public health measures that are being put in place. So there's going to be somebody who's born without ever knowing about this woman, who 30 years from now may just be finding out about this woman, who's still impacted by the choices she made, that she made that. So I think there's a difference between impact and legacy, right? We don't care about his legacy. Nobody really cares. It's his family that cares about his legacy, if we're being very honest. Because, like I said, a legacy is much more than the individual job that they did. If we're being very honest, it's just a job. And I don't think people remember that. At the end of the day, what governance is a job that he was given for 48 years. How many of us in the 48 years of our jobs have done it diligently, have done it so well, have done it with impact, have done it where your company doesn't want to let you go? It is governance, I understand, but it's a job. He's just taking on a job like you are every day that you wear your suits or your skirts or whatever, and you go into your company. We make noise about it because it is a big job. It's a it's a huge job. That's it. It's a huge job. I agree. I understand. What I'm saying is it's a job. So that's not legacy. Because this person that I'm talking about, who I said died, and a lot of people have been talking about her and are talking about her, her impact was not in a job. And that's why we have another president in 4 years and we have another president in 8 years. That is supposed to cycle. And I think if we go back to it, maybe what I want to tell people is, what is the impact that you're living in your life for others? And at your job. And at your job. As a cleaner, as a owner, CEO, as a, admin, whatever it is, what's the impact that you're leaving at your job? Yeah, I think that's what I'll say.
Okay, thank you. So you're speaking about your dad earlier, and I was going to ask, how was it like, having your dad on the podcast? And we want to know if there are like some funny comments on socials about having your dad, and and do you feel like you're going to have him again in the nearest future?
No, to the last one. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? Actually, I actually don't know, who knows? But no, I like I said, I did see some funny comments about maybe he was stealing as a politician or something around, just governance and everything. That was just funny. I mean, at the end of the day, we say on this podcast, this is one chapter in your story, right? So it's not like we're here for 3 hours and I guess that's why he can write a book about it and all of that. So, the comments were not listening to me. Most of the people who else disturbed me about just, oh my God, you had your dad and it was fun and all of that, were mostly people that knew me and all of that. And some people, I think, just kind of respected the fact that I was able to have my dad on there. No, it was good. It was. I mean, I feel like I had more facial expressions on that one than ever. So I'm glad that we don't typically always show my face when there's a guest, because my facial expressions were too funny and all of that. So no, it was good. It was good, and I'm really glad that we have a good relationship. It's parents are not given a book either. Like, they have the general book that that tells you about the stages of life, but parents are not given a book. And so I've been and I always credit my mom for this. My mom really taught us how to give grace to our parents, right? And I think I'm very grateful for that, because otherwise they make decisions that, like I explained about the whole AC thing, like they're making decisions to the best of their ability, and I was freezing. And I can't totally blame him. What was their understanding then and now? And so that's why sometimes when you see this whole conversation about gentle parenting versus not gentle parenting, I understand people are dealing with so much trauma that they've tried to find a better way to heal and help their kids. Whereas, for some other people, it's like, well, yeah, I get it, but you don't also want to spoil the rod or spare the rod and spoil the child. So it is definitely a very interesting perspective or interesting place to be. With that said, it was fun. It was fun. Like I said, it was good times.
Yeah. So, final question. We just want you to tell us about your current update on living in Nigeria, long term. Yeah.
Current update on living in Nigeria. It's funny because somebody still asked me the other day, are you sure you're not going to go back? No, I'm not going to go back. I mean, I think, let me say that. I enjoy traveling, so I think, definitely want to travel as much and all of that. And US is, now my second home. My sister lives there now, so I still have a lot of friends and family, so that's home as well. So I have a friend who likes to do half of the year here and half of the year in America. I'm grateful for that privilege, and so we'll see how that works. But, I was talking to my boss the other day, and we were talking about it in trying to, seek other opportunities and things like that. And it's like, well, I'm at the stage of my life where my main focus right now is family. And so because of that, I'm not really eager to jump anywhere. My family's here, and we want to build something here, and we want to raise our kids here for as long as God will have us by the time we start having kids. So I think that, as much as, because like I said, I was talking to my boss about it, as much as I'm like, oh man, this is now the time when you start to get into that career and like Moabudu start things at 40 kind of thing. Unfortunately, well, no, not unfortunately, fortunately, this time of my life is more about family, and so I think I'm ready to kind of, I don't want to say sacrifice, because it's funny, I saw, speaking of random things I could talk about, and that was bugging me to talk about, was the whole conversation around Naomi Osaka, who's maybe now in the recent, tournament not doing as well, and somebody said, oh, it was because of the choice she made to be a parent. That's okay. It's a choice that she made to be a parent, right? It doesn't also mean that she cannot come back, right? Does she have to adjust? Are things not going her way? Yes. But the idea that a woman chooses that and that's a problem, I have a big problem with that, I'm sorry. I just think that's very unfair. And I was really, really offended that somebody would say, oh, this is the choice that people make and blah, blah, blah. And it made me think that, in fact, what people don't realize is, part of the conversation is, quote unquote, marrying late. There's no marrying late. You marry at your own time as God does it for you. But is there something around the effect of, okay, my friends are now in their 40s and are able to chase their career goals like anybody now can. I can imagine that my friends are going to be, CEOs and, just the big wigs, traveling, doing all these speaking engagements and things like that, because their children can now stay at home by themselves, where I'm going to be chasing children in diapers and maybe cannot take that speaking engagement or cannot take that role because I'm choosing to focus on my kids. Then yes, that's what it is, right? And again, the idea is, oh, then is it only women? No, again, a man can also choose to, but, and let me not say but, and, right, it's possible that as a family you make a decision that he does that at a certain time, so that maybe things can flip at a certain time, right? Or whatever the case is, right? We have to realize that our biology is our biology. That's one, right? But the choices we make are individual choices or family choices, and we have to kind of come to that conclusion. And I don't know. I just think for me, I thought that was a very, very disrespectful comment to her decision-making process and all of that. With that said, let me talk to the young people here, and I think, I've seen a few pastors actually put it up on social media. Marry on time. Like, just marry on time. Like, don't be like me who said, and really, this is one of the things you have to be conscious with your words. It's something that I've been working on, because I remember saying, oh, me and my husband married for 30 years. Maybe I said 30 years. I don't know. But 30 years is a short amount of time if you think about it. Like, that's just till my 60s, or no, 69, right? That's just still 69. No, God, please, like, I want 50 years. I change it. Like, but my point just being that I've had to be conscious about that. Like, God, 50 years, 60 years, like, that's what we want, right? So the same thing, right, I mentioned, I don't know if I've said it on this podcast, but I had said to myself that I wasn't even ready to date until after I finished my PhD. I did not know my PhD was going to take me 10 years. I did not know. I really did not know. So my point just being, be careful with your words, which is why you shouldn't, like, stifle yourself. Like, so again, if you meet a good person, a godly person that you can do, like, because, I mean, I'm sure you've heard it before. Nobody's perfect. Like, I don't care if his shit comes out like gold. He's not perfect. He's going to snore, and that will annoy you, or whatever it is. Thanking God he doesn't snore. But that's the point, that it's going to be something or the other. So I just think that, I want to just tell young people, if you are finding a godly person, a good person with good family values, good values in general, right? Not just their family, but as a person. Somebody who has what's it called for his life, right? A plan for his life, then definitely please go ahead and go for it. Now, I also need to say, because I was talking to somebody the other day, our church guys, you need to calm down. Stop sending prayer as, like, you want to talk to somebody and you're sending prayer. Like, be calming down, calm down, yes? Like, let's just talk like normal human beings. I was telling the girl, I was like, well, I like that in general, in that he's showing you where his values are from, but I still think, like, can you, calm it down a little bit? But it reminded me of, because then the conversation was, well, that's not her spec or whatever. Guy's a little shorter. I get it. And I'll be very honest with you. I said I wanted a tall guy. I was very, very specific about it, and I got a tall guy. But I didn't say tall guy without looking at anything else. It was tall guy and all the other things as well. And here's the thing, and I really do think, there's one or two things, obviously, that, the list was just, it's like God was like, okay, you're not going to get everything. Like, 97% is okay. Fine. If your 97% is his height, please, come off it. Like, you don't even know. It's because, I saw somebody today, and the kid was, like, very tall, and I'm like, who in your family is tall? Like, it could be from some generation thing. There's recessive genes, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying that you don't even know, I don't know, God could make your own son special. You could pray and tell God, okay, I want my own child to be tall, regardless of what his genes are, and God can do it for you. So I'm just saying, if you're 97%, everything is okay, and then the comma is now that he's short, I beg, like, let's be real. Yeah, okay, going back to Nigeria. I would say Lagos is wild. I'm only in Lagos, so I can't really talk about any other place. I've been in a space where I've been working at, and it's been wild to see the characters, right? It's been wild to see the personalities. It's interesting that in 2025 we're still doing, do you know who I am and things like that. So in that sense, it's wild. It's wild to see this whole kind of VIP hierarchy thing that honestly is just not a big deal in any other country. Like, you see famous people on the train and all of that, and we don't have all of that, and you're determined. Let me give you a good story, actually. And this is why I'm saying Nigeria is wild. We have two cars. One we call my car, one we call my husband's car. Basic cars, Mazda and a Corolla, nothing special about either of them. But the Mazda is an SUV, and the Corolla is, a car, a sedan. And we go to some place, and my husband was the one who was coming to get me, and he comes in with his sedan, and he parks in front of the institution. And then the security guard comes to him and says, "Oh, do you want to move back?" And he's like, "Why? Is there something wrong with the space? Like, you didn't reserve it?" And he was like, "Yeah, for the big cars." That's Nigeria for you, where you can get into an estate because you have a big car versus, so in the same estate that has rules on checking in someone, you can get in because you have a big car without a code, without anything, versus you coming in a small car. That small car is automatically deemed, I need to speak to you. So it's definitely crazy. Those things still just make me go, what the hell? I mean, like, just orderliness on the road still makes me go, what the hell? Before now, every time I would come, I would drive, not because of anything, but just to sometimes feel that, you're fighting with someone, you're horny or whatever. Now I'm like, please, quite literally, if there's nobody to take me somewhere, I will just be like, please, I'm not going anywhere. I'll sit down in my house. I cannot deal with the constant pressure of dealing with Nigerian roads. So are there some things that are difficult? The fact that health insurance is not just much more common, things like that. Yeah, but I think I love Nigeria. Again, that's something that my dad gave me. I don't know how he passed it on to me, but I love Nigeria. I think Nigeria can be great. I agree with him. I will be a president in Nigeria before I am a president in any other country, because that's the only way that I can actually do all the things that I'm saying that I will do or that I want to do. And it's the only way that I can see if it's actually feasible to do. Like, maybe it's really not feasible. Like, maybe they go in there and they really go in with their best of intentions, but there's just so many dynamics that we don't understand that is causing them to not be able to do the things that they say that they will do or how they want to do it. I'm just so genuinely curious. I always used to say that I wanted to be the Minister of Health. That was my goal going out of the country to go study. That was my goal coming back into the country before now to come back. But then I'm afraid now that, somebody might kill me because I'm going to do some radical things and just be like, nope, you're out, fired, bring me this, bring me that. I'm wary about that. So now I'm running away from politics in every way, shape, or form, in that sense, or that kind of governance leadership. But otherwise, I do. I'm happy. I'm happy in general. I'm a happy person in general. But I do think that there's promise here in this country. And happy to be here for now. Let's see. I think the only thing that can make me ever change my mind about leaving here is my children, for whatever reason. That's my thought.
All right, so this one, all the GenZs that we need to know. Can we expect to see more young voices and more Gen Z perspectives on your podcast anytime soon?
That's a good one. I really do want to. I think I've been struggling with what the conversation will be about. And let me say it like this, sir. I know, obviously, we've been talking about what are the things we can do and things like that. And I'm sure I should probably be doing more ads and things like that. And when I say ads, I just mean like some of those social media bites, right, and things like that. But obviously, we just started doing this in person. Maybe not just, but we're now just getting into our rhythm. And then there's the idea that not all my guests are in the country, right? So unless we make that the thing where all my guests are in the country and that's the only way we record, it's, we're still fighting our rhythm on that. With that said, the Gen Z conversations, again, two things. Remember that I said that, one, a lot of what we want to do is a chapter in your story, right? But two, we want to make sure it's impactful and it's learning. So I've been looking for not making it just content-worthy conversations, if that makes sense. I've had young people. You won't remember because you're quote-unquote new on the team, but one of the first people I spoke to was my, I don't even know what to call her, my baby. She's now 25 years old. I think it was 2 years ago, so it would have been 23, who started a business, right? And she started the business as a high schooler or kind of like just starting college. And now she owns the key to her own studio, her own house, right? or business, I should say. So, I mean, I think for me, I definitely want to have conversations. I think the difference is I'm wary about conversations that are just content worthy. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I don't, like, if it's just going to be about, you know, you have 1 million followers on TikTok or wherever, like, that's great. I appreciate that. But, like, what is that doing, right? And I think for me, a lot of the people who have those kind of things, like, let's say someone is a dancer and they've amassed, you know, that many followers and all of that, I still want to have what I would call an intellectual conversation. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, you know, Gen Zs don't have intellectual conversations. I have a lot of you on my team. I mean, our main producer on this team, I met her at another job, and at the time she was doing research entry, right? And then I said, oh wait, I know this is not your passion, I know this is not what you want to do. And I've kind of been with her on that journey till now. She owns the company that is producing my content, right? Ask her, when she started, she did not know anything about podcasting. Like, she did not know anything about podcasting. I found out about it myself. I started doing the editing myself, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to teach you. We're going to go through this. And now she's employing people, right? So it's not because I don't want to have Gen Z conversations. I just want to, I'm very, very, you know, particular about the conversations that we have here. That's why, obviously, we're doing this solo episode and we're doing more of a this or that conversation. It's good to be light and it's good to have those conversations, but I want it to be very, very impactful. And I've quite literally had people that I did not expect to listen to the podcast be like, oh, I learned this, I learned that, I learned that, I learned that. And so, yes, Gen Zs, let's talk, right? I've been thinking and I've been saying, even though I don't know that I'm still shy, but I've been saying we should probably do one of those, we meet and then like almost like a live episode, right? I do think that's something that will be great, and maybe that way we can answer questions about that. But I think I also just really do better with deep questions, maybe. So I'm worried that, but yes, please, let's talk. Let's meet. Like, I feel like, ask me a question. Send me questions on DM and ask me to talk about it. And then I will do that. I think I do enjoy those. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We might try to push a campaign for that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So it was actually fun sharing this, having you share this your own perspective with us. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, all right. So that's it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this solo episode. I keep saying I'll do more of it, but then I'm shy. So if you think that we should do more of this, let us know in the comment section. If you listen all the way to the end of this, I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. And like I said, let us know. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I think I'm very good with conversations. I like them. I don't solicit for them, if that makes sense. So if you're not asking me questions, I'm about my business and stuff like that. But yes, I'm happy to answer questions. And then, like I said, like, share, subscribe. And thank you guys so very much. And obviously, thank you to the team behind the scenes. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, see you soon.
Thank you for joining me on today's episode. Just like you would share with friends about a great book you read, don't forget to share this if you enjoyed it. Connect with us on IG and Twitter at twwpcast and get details on the website at worldwithoutpeople.org. And hey, remember to make loving others the story of your life. Until next time, this is the world without people.